I can. Can you hear me? All right. Nikita on too? Okay. He'll be on here in a little bit. You're going to do your thing first, and then we'll come in. Works for me. Let me text him while I'm at it.
Aha! It works. Look at that. Just like magic. Just like magic. It all comes together for the first time in a long time. Looks like we're going to get off to a running out the blocks with a jump start, so that's great. Welcome. This is Regalwood Rasslin. This is episode 4 of Regalwood Rasslin. I am your humble host, the overlord of the wasteland, the engineer of combat, the big boss with the hot sauce, and the star of this by God show, Ricky Regal. Glad to have you. If you're new to this show, I don't know what to tell you. Welcome. Glad to have you. Big show coming today. We're going to have Neal and Nikita Koloff will be our guests. They're coming up here directly. We'll get to that in here in just a few minutes. Welcome already into the chat room. I see Wanda's in there as always. I see Miss Kimberly. Thank you for joining. And couple others in there haven't said hello yet. If you have any questions later when we get to the interview portion, drop them in the comments. I will try to get to them as best or as quickly as I can, and we'll see how it goes. Appreciate everybody for joining. Oh, we're live. We're live right now on YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, Facebook, and Kick. That's right. All of those platforms are wide open and ready to go. If you got comments for any of those places, I'm trying to monitor them all because, as you all know, I'm a one-man gang here, production company, band, you name it, I'm doing it all. So trying to monitor the chats, but yeah, go ahead and hit me up on one of those. I'm usually monitoring the YouTube channel most. YouTube is kind of where it all breaks down, or where it all happens, kind of like the hub of all things Regal. If you want to jump in there and see what's going on with my past, my present, and maybe even some future stuff, it's all right there on the YouTube channel. That's Wrestle Radio 860, WRESTLE RADIO 860 on YouTube. Lots of old shows in there. Lots of when I used to have a real live, honest to God radio, over the air radio program. back in the day on WLBG. A lot of those interviews with some legendary people, sort of like the legend Nikita, who will be in a little bit. I had Animal, Jimmy Valiant, who's, by the way, his last match is coming up. He's 83 years old and going to have his last match here in a week or so. So that's coming. But lots of legends in that interview stuff, lots of old shows that I was on back in the day, wrestling programs, and, of course, some of the Christmas shows that everybody loves so much. All of it's posted right there on the YouTube channel. So if you don't know anything about Regal, do your homework, go to the YouTube channel, and learn. Learn, friends. Where else? Okay, we're on Twitch, Regalwood6969. Rumble and Kick, of course, are Regalwood, respectively. Look for this guy right here, the big bulldog with the muscles and the big gold belt. See that gold belt? He worked hard for that. Put a lot of years in, running up and down the roads to get that gold belt. So show him some respect. What's going on in the world? Let's see. Well, so I wanted to talk a little bit while we're waiting on our guests to jump in. I wanted to talk a little bit about this year's Hall of Fame class for the WWE. Look, man, I like that ceremony. It's always kind of like, you know, where they kind of, you know, everybody kind of lets their hair down a little bit and everybody goes ahead and you know, kind of tells it like it is. But this class, I mean, is it me? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm jaded. Maybe I'm thinking wrong. But this class is with respect, right? With all respect to AJ. AJ deserves it. I mean, AJ's been around, right? All love and respect to AJ. No problems there. But Steph, I mean, I don't know. I'm not crapping on anything, right? But Stephanie, and I know Vince has got problems. Say what you will about, you know, the Vinster, but Steph before Vince, and Steph before Shane. You know, but you know, I get it. Hunter went in last year, so I guess it makes sense for Steph to go in this year. Hey man, millionaires doing millionaire things, and this legacy wing. Psycho Sid and Bad News Brown from the Legacy wing. I guess the Legacy is the old guys. Is that what we're doing now? And I was actually going to ask Nikita about that, what his opinion was of Ivan going into the Legacy wing, considering Ivan's. And maybe we'll ask both Nikita and Neal about that. But what their opinion is of Uncle Ivan there going into the Legacy wing, considering what he did when he, you know, broke San Martino's long or reigning championship there in the Garden and all that good stuff. So we'll hopefully get some opinion on that as we move forward. Another thing I wanted to talk about this week was Punk's pipe bomb promo. I don't know, man. I don't know if I was feeling this one like that first one kind of had its own aura, right? Back in the day when he kind of sat there on the stage and did his thing. This one, I don't know. I mean, it's fine. I don't know if, you know, with everything, with the curtain being drawn back on everything now, especially with the unscripted show, I don't know that people are really are they buying it? You tell me. I mean, if you're in the chat, did you buy that promo from Punk on Monday with all the shootistry that he was letting go forth? I don't know. I mean, it's fine. You know, if it draws, it draws. But what he was saying, I guess, about the ticket prices is you know, you can't argue. I read somewhere it's like $1,700 for ringside seats. $1,700? What wrestling fan do you know can afford that? I couldn't afford that. You know, and if they're pricing themselves out of what we used to call the you know, the generational wrestling fan, then they're doing a good job, because I don't know anybody that can afford $1,700 for ringside seats. I heard some of the nosebleeds are upwards of $200 and $300 and $400 for way, you know. Hey man. So there's truth in everything, I guess, but I don't know how much of that, you know, how much of that was scripted. I mean, how much of it was off the cuff? Who knows? But I'm sure that'll all be brought to light in the next season of what is that show? Unscripted, whatever that thing is. Question of the day for me, friends, is why is everybody involved in the Orton Rhodes Mania match? Jelly Roll, Steph, and now Pat McAfee? What? I mean, do we need all those people to get that thing sold? I mean, again, and I'm not breaking any news here. I don't watch it regularly. I don't watch the show regularly, so I don't know what the storyline up to that point was. But that many people involved in that one match is, and this Jelly Roll guy, I'm sure he melts your heart with his songs. Why are you getting pins on TV? These are the questions. These are the questions we ask, right? I don't know. Yeah, Wanda says can't nobody but rich people buy those tickets, and that's $1,700 for ringside is unheard of, man. My guest Neal, who's been around a long time, he knows back in the day when we all kind of was coming up. Wrestling was for the, as Dusty would say, the common man, right? And if you're pricing yourself out that big, the common man ain't gonna be coming to the shows. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But God bless, right? God bless. I was, like I said, reading up on some of that stuff, and it's just really really blowing my mind as to how we're to this point. How do we get to that point? Yeah. You tell me. Well, I can do one of two things. You guys tell me what you think. I can go ahead and bring in Neal Koloff. He and I can start, talking and reminiscing, or I can do a quick reality. Either way, I'm good either way. I don't want to keep Neal sitting there in the waiting room too long. He's already flexing, and I'm looking at him. He's already in there. He's getting antsy. He's ready to cut loose. And so, what do you think? Should we go ahead and bring in? Let's go ahead and bring in our guests. Why not? Let's bring in right now, friends. Newest Koloff member, one of the newest Koloff members, my friend, Neal Koloff. Welcome to the program, Neal Koloff.
What's going on? Thank you for having me, man.
Oh, thank you for being there, man. I was trying to stall there a little bit, and I didn't really have a lot of opening prepared because I was going to, get into you guys pretty quickly. Have you heard back from Uncle Nikita?
Yeah, he literally just texted me, says he's waiting on the camera to load.
I got you.
So,
yeah.
So right now we're just waiting on him.
Yeah, there are some difficulties sometimes getting that thing going, and in fact, I appreciate you and the lovely and talented Lace coming in yesterday to try to pregame a little bit and get things set up. So I appreciate you guys helping me with that. So what's going on with you, man? We'll talk some Koloff stuff in a little bit. So what's new with Neal Koloff?
Man, everything's just been going really good. Been very blessed, especially kicking off this Koloff tour that we literally it technically started with Nikita and I at WrestleCade this past November. And once we kicked that off in November, we ran into Vladimir at WrestleCade, the real Vladimir. And so once we did that, then there was the talks of involving everyone with the Koloff Family Reunion Tour with New Breed Entertainment and our promoter, Leon Hollinger. And there he is right there. He just popped in.
Just popped into the into the room there.
But we'll get him coming in. That way he can he's just licking his chops right now, ready to come in.
Let me see if I can hear him. Can you hear us, Nikita? I don't hear Nikita.
Yeah, I can't hear him either.
I do not hear Nikita. Okay. I don't know if he's having some issues on it. Everything's.
Yeah.
He says
he can hear us.
He can hear us, but we can't hear him.
Yeah.
Don't know why that would be.
Is your mic turning green? Nope, it's not. Okay, so it's something on his end.
Got to be something on his end. Yeah, because we're good here on this end. I can see you just fine. I'm not hearing anything. I don't know if it's I don't know if you got to, if it's settings. Sometimes you got to give settings permissions and all these technological beasts that we all carry. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, Nikita, friends. Jeff and I can see, or I'm sorry, Neal and I can see Nikita, and he's in there, but we can't hear him, and we're going to try to get his situation.
I was gonna say maybe if he can touch the mic on there a little bit, the sound. Wait, I heard something pop. No, nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. Bear with us, friends. We're working on it. We're gonna get the nightmare in here. I promise we will. Let's see. Hit the video again. I don't know if you need to maybe go out and come back in, sir.
Try and go out and come back in if that helps. He gave a thumbs up on that one. Yeah.
See if we can give that a try. While Nikita's working his end out there, friends. Go ahead, Neal. You were saying about the big tour that you guys are working on.
Yes. So once we got everything going at Russellcade and with Leon Hollinger of New Breed Entertainment, once he actually came in, I hear something.
I think I hear something.
Check 1, 2, 3,
Got
4,
him.
5.
Got him. He is in there.
There he is.
He is in there.
I've never used this ninja thing before. It's all new to me. And technology is not my game.
It's all good, sir. It is all good. I tell you what, give me just, because it takes me about 30 seconds to load Nikita into OBS, my thing that I use here. So take a short, quick break. Let me get Nikita in, and we'll be right back. A couple of minutes. Stand by.
How's it going, Unc?
Doing good. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, technology's not my deal, but I'm glad we figured it out, though.
Yeah, they called me yesterday.
Yeah, what's our time frame so I kind of know how to margin my answers. Gotcha. Okay. All right. I'll just follow your lead for a while, and I got a good 45 minutes anyway. So.
Oh yeah, that thing you're going to be at on the June 11th. That's like, I think 25 minutes from me. Not too bad.
Yeah, in Greer.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's several guys there in the area. Of course, Tommy Barrett lives back there now.
Yeah.
Several guys. We got several guys in the area that may pop over.
Okay. Yeah, I may bring Lucas over with me. Let you.
Yeah.
Get to see him.
Wouldn't hurt. Wouldn't hurt to take him to a men's dinner.
Oh yeah. Don't worry about that, buddy. That sounds good.
Well, I think we got all our technical difficulties worked out. We're back. We're live. We are again live on YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, and Kick. YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble, and Kick today. And it is my great pleasure and honor. Honestly, this is an honor. Guy's been he don't know it, but he's been a lot to me throughout my fandom and subsequent getting into it is what the little level that I was in on it. But a big influence and just a legend. And I'm just proud to have him on today, along with Neal. Welcome special guest, Nikita Koloff. Nikita, welcome, sir.
Hey, great to be with you, Ricky. Appreciate you having us on. Happy Friday to everybody.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. It's the day that we're all looking for. I've been looking forward to this Friday all week, man, and just knowing you were going to be on, and I mentioned a little bit there in your intro. There's nothing I can say about you that hadn't already been said, right? Legendary career, legendary. Just everything you did was just fantastic, and I always said I was always, even as a kid, and even coming up as before you came in, I was watching with my grandfather back in the day, like a lot of fans did, and I remember I always liked the bad guys. I always followed. I don't know why. Was always drawn to the heels. The all the masked guys and all that stuff was just fascinated me. Like the whole thing. And I always said the only thing more terrifying than a heel Road Warriors when they were running heel was a heel Nikita Koloff because it just looked dangerous.
Well, I might have had a path of destruction along the way. That's for sure. And certainly, looking back on the career, I guess what amazes me now, Ricky, is looking back all these years later, right? So we're like Magnum and I are celebrating, Magnum TA are celebrating the 40th anniversary of the best of 7 of the U.S. for the U.S. title, right? I mean, that was 40 years ago. So it's just amazing to me to go out, Neal and I were just recently in Long Island, New York. We're going to be out in Las Vegas. I mean, we're going to these towns, meeting amazing fans like yourself. And I sometimes just gotta honestly kind of pinch myself, like, wow, all these years later, somebody's still interested in meeting me and getting an autograph and take a picture. That's pretty humbling.
It's fascinating, really, and following legends like yours, careers, and thank God you're still out there with us, man, because as you know, we've lost so many over the years, and still have you around is just a God blessing, especially with what you're doing now, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Wanted to go back, and I don't want to take it too far back because again, everybody knows the Russian Nightmare, but we want to go back a little bit, kind of get in your mind frame as you were coming in. And I know you got a call from Joe Laurinaitis that kind of changed your life. Tell me a little bit about that, how that came about.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling wasn't on my radar as a kid growing up. I mean, I was familiar with it. And, of course, in my college days, I worked out, trained as a bunch of us muscleheads did at Jesse the Body Ventura, known at that time, later to become Jesse the Mind, Governor Jesse Ventura.
Right.
But so I was familiar with it. You surfed the 3 channels that we had in those days. For the younger listeners, you can Google that. There weren't 1,500 channels.
Right.
There were only like 3, and you had to get up and manually turn a dial. But anyway, all that's I digress. I catch the AWA, Vern Gagne, All-Star Wrestling on TV every now and then. But I never really paused, that long to watch it. My heart, my passion was weightlifting, bodybuilding, football, with sights on playing in the NFL. And that's what I was working towards when I got the call from Joe, and he laid out the idea of becoming a nephew for Ivan Koloff. And I just made sure when I had that 5-minute phone call with Jim Crockett, I just made sure Mr. Crockett understood I had no amateur wrestling background, no professional training, had never been in a ring in my life. And he said he understood it. I agreed to show up the day he said to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. I had an address, loaded up everything to my car. I had my name in my car, walked in. Nikita Koloff's born in the hallways of Charlotte that day, sticks me on an interview set. And then we conclude that, and he says, be in Raleigh, North Carolina tomorrow night, you're going to wrestle on television and having never been in a ring. That's the short version of how crazy the story is.
And that was fascinating. I actually learned that when I was researching some things for this interview, and I actually learned that going because that's always a big thing, as always with wrestlers. Who trained you? Where'd you train? And I read somewhere that you did like the night of the show, you did a little bit of in ring stuff to warm up before the show with somebody to kind of get you ready for that match.
in the dressing room. Don Cardona showed me how to lock up in the dressing room.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was my training.
So with that being said, Nikita, what do you attribute to your quick way of picking it up? Because a lot of people train for years and never pick it up, right? There's some guys out there who maybe shouldn't even be out there. But what do you attribute to you picking it up so quickly and then rising to the level that you did?
That's a really great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that before, Ricky. So thank you for asking. I guess what I would attribute it to is I've always been an athlete. I've always been what I would call teachable, coachable, whether it was in the weight room or on a football field or in business. Never thought I knew it all, or because I know I don't. I committed years ago to being a lifetime learner. I'm still learning. I read anywhere from a dozen to 20 books a year on all different types of books, and so I feel fortunate to have two incredible trainers. And by trainers, I mean Don Kernodle and Ivan Koloff on the job training. So fortunately for my opponent that first night, it was only 11 seconds long. So that really was fortunate for him. So I don't think I heard him in 11 seconds. And then what we did is the three of us would get to the arena a couple, 3 hours early for those first 2 or 3 months. And Ivan and Don would bump and thump all over the ring for me and teach me the mechanics. I'd go out and have a minute squash match and begin to apply what they were teaching me. And then, Ricky, I'd sit in their corner every night. They're the world tag champions, right? Yeah. So I'd sit in their corner and just study what they did. And then every night on the drive home, because you drove up and back basically every night back then, yep. We would discuss the old school psychology of wrestling. And so I guess I say all that to say between being an athlete, being coachable and teachable, applying what I learned those first couple, 3 months, that's what you would say, I guess, meteorically rocketed me to, become all within 13 months to become the world tag champion, world six-man champion, and then wrestling the Nature Boy Ric Flair in the first ever Great American Bash for his world heavyweight title, all within 13 months.
Just phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal. Like you said, meteoric is a perfect analogy. Did you know from those humble beginnings, Nikita, of showing up there and kind of like, following Don Kernodle and those guys around, kind of learn as you went? Did you have any idea where that thing would have gotten to and how far it went with you?
Not really. I mean, I'm learning as I'm going, and even coming to Charlotte, I'm like, hey, if this doesn't work out, I'm going down to Tampa Bay and try out for football, So of course it did work out, and I never looked back. But anyone who spends any time, Neal will probably tell you, anyone you meet that knows me, I'll describe it this way: I'm an all-in kind of guy, Ricky. It doesn't matter what I do. If it's look, I was in the weight room this morning. 55 years later from when I picked up my first barbell. I was in the weight room this morning. I get in there 4 or 5 days a week. When I played football, I was determined to be one of the best. When I got into wrestling, I wasn't determined just to be a wrestler. Yeah. I was determined to be one of the best. And so 8 different world titles and all kinds of other accolades, right? And so regardless of what I'm doing, I'm going to apply myself and be one of the best if possible.
Well, speaking of that application process, it was also interesting to me as I was doing some research here, how deeply you threw yourself into that Russian character and actually going and learning some phrases and learning a little bit of the language and staying in character. I read somewhere you were in the gym and the guys were coming up trying to get their fee or whatever, and you're like, oh, what? I don't know. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Shrugging my shoulders and turning my head like I don't understand what you're saying, and they were pretty frustrated, they're trying to get some gym membership out of me, and it wasn't intentional. I just was living the character, right? And to your point, I learned a few words. I just put a few phrases that if anyone, a real Russian, would have known in a nanosecond that I wasn't from Russia, but the Americans did not know. And so I'll just say this. I know Neal's got something he wants to say.
Yeah.
So living the character, even 3 years post retirement, I never broke character 24/7 in public to protect the business.
That's unheard of, especially nowadays. Go ahead, Neal.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback off that. A buddy of mine that lives in Charlotte, like he had told me his mom worked at a bank in Charlotte. And there's a story about Nikita where he just never cashed his checks.
Yeah.
And so he told me he lived like a hermit. Like he would stash his checks on his mantle and literally just kept stashing them up there. And until they had to tell him, hey, you need to, go ahead and get a bank account or cash these, or we're gonna have to play stop payments on these. So he did and went into the bank. But my buddy said his mom worked in that bank, and all of a sudden this big man comes in. Well, it was Nikita, and then all of a sudden, like he walks up to the counter in character, says, "I'm gonna take an account," and that just popped me. It was just so great.
Great.
Still living that gimmick.
That is great. Did you ever get was there any time you slipped? It's so interesting to me how well you stayed in the character. Was there any time that you slipped up and Scott came out? Anybody chance?
Nope. And now what's funny is I'll hear people tell stories like, yeah, you walked out of the convenience store and you're speaking perfect English. I don't even argue with them. I'm like, oh, wow, really? I just don't. When I was wrestling in Minneapolis, my former hometown, there would be, old football, old football teammates or high school. They'd be shouting it out and trying to get me to react, but they couldn't put it over. I mean, I didn't budge, man. Didn't acknowledge it and didn't budge. I was in character. I didn't realize it, Ricky. I didn't know this expression till years later. Yeah. That what I was doing, without ever going to acting school, what I was doing was called method acting. Yeah. Where you literally project yourself into that role. That's what makes many of the great legendary movie actors, that they have the ability to do that. I didn't know I was doing it, but that's what I guess I was doing.
Well, it certainly sold the story, and I don't think anybody, certainly nobody that I knew doubted that Nikita was a bad man from Russia, and whenever Nikita was in town, it was going to be a bad day for somebody. Speaking of that, Nikita, when you came in, it was right kind of in the height of the Cold War stuff. Did you get any legit heat because of that?
Oh, we had heat.
Outside, outside of outside. I know you had heat in the business, but outside of that.
Well, we had heat in the ring. We had the heat with the fans. I mean, there were times people would recognize Ivan and I driving down the road and make U-turns and pull up alongside of us. And I remember Charleston, South Carolina, specifically one time, Crockett informed us that they had got some calls, some death threats if the Koloff showed up in Charleston.
Wow.
And Crockett's like, no big deal. We'll just increase the security. You'll be fine. And of course, I thought I'm 10 foot tall, bulletproof anyway. So yeah. I was there. I'm not someone who walks in fear, and so I never thought twice about it. The fans pretty much outside of the ring never tried to pick a fight with me. Or now inside the arena they did, but
Sure.
Outside the arena, no, they pretty much left me alone. Right, 285 pounds, 8% body fat, pretty jacked. They left me alone.
I watched the Starrcade 85. It was 85 where Flair came in on the helicopter. That was the right one, right? That was 85.
That Great American Bash 85.
Great American Bash. That's right. When Flair came in on the thing, and I was watching you and just the look of intensity. And then didn't a fan jump in the ring on that one at some point?
That was the first of 6. That was the first of 6 times. Now, for the record, he's the only one who got his hands on me because one, I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't anticipating that. Did not expect it. Flair's down on the mat. He's selling. I was down on the floor. Somebody's got me pinned up against the ropes. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't remember talking about this. And then it dawned on me. I'm like, oh, my gosh, this must be a fan. And then the cops eventually figured it out rolled in, snatched him, arrested him, got him out. But after that, my antennas were, man, my head was on a swivel.
Yeah.
5 more times, people would come over the barricade, try to get in the ring, and come after me.
That's just crazy that how I mean, and of course we know that in the subsequent years, you know, the curtain's been pulled way further back than any of us would have ever believed. But in that time, and even still, people still talk about it to this day. You know, I remember hearing there was one. I don't remember the exact match. I met. It may have been during the Best of 7 series with Magnum there, but there was at some point where I remember as fans we were talking about the matches because you went up 3-0 right away. And then I think it may have been the next one where Magnum got a win. People were going, Nikita was like legit mad. He was really mad, and he's really like upset now. And what's going to happen to Magnum? Just the believability that you guys portrayed was just unbelievable and phenomenal. And we need that back, you know.
I don't know that you can get that back. I think the business has been way too exposed. But and let me, since you brought that up, I want your listeners, I want your viewers, I want everyone their antennas up, because let me just throw this out there. Keep your eyes and ears open, because it's the 40th anniversary of the Best of 7. We are Terry and Magnum and I are right now are reviewing the manuscript for a commemorative book on the Best of 7. So we're doing that. We've already put a T-shirt together, working on a poster and a commemorative coin, and Terry and I are going to do the Gathering in Charlotte and WrestleCade in Winston-Salem this year, and then a virtual signing so that anyone anywhere, if they wanted to order some autographed stuff with Terry and I, are going to be able to order that. But I'm excited. The book should be ready sometime, hopefully around June. We'll promote. We'll get all that word out. But just want to give your audience an opportunity to just kind of plant that seed, keep their eyes open for that.
And how will people get a hold of that, Nikita?
Well, they're going to be able to. I mean, we'll get it out on social media. Magnum will get it out on his social media, my social media, my podcast. I mean, I guess you perhaps I've got my own podcast and radio show on the Truth Radio Network and all the major podcasts. It's called It's Time to Man Up. Yeah. I'll promote it on the radio show, on the podcast, and of course they'll see the advertising. With Magnum and I, like I said, at the Gathering in Charlotte in July, and then November WrestleCade, and then that virtual. We're most likely going to do that through High Spots. Who's Michael, who's well known in Charlotte, will do that through High Spots, and anyone anywhere will be able to get an autographed copy of the book or all the other stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Keep me informed, and we'll of course do our part to help get that promoted out there as well.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Speaking of the Best of 7, what did you guys know that thing would be as iconic as it became while it was going on? I'm sure at the beginning it was kind of like we're going to get through this angle, but at the time, did you realize how iconic that thing would become and have the lasting effect that it has some 40 years later?
Not really, Ricky. I mean, again, when you're kind of caught up in the moment, you're just, it's just another day at the office, so to speak, right? Now,
sure.
He and I were excited about the whole idea, everything from the contract signing to the stripping of the belt to the way we laid it out, going up 3-0, as you mentioned, and then him clawing his way back to that 7th and final match, and I guess as it continued on. As it built, I guess we understood a little bit more of the significance of it, but never in a million years would I dream 40 years later, that we'd be celebrating the anniversary and writing a book about it and, making, T-shirts and posters and all. No, never. So, and it's the most talked about thing of my career is the Best of 7 against Magnum Tate. Never been done before, to our knowledge. That had never been done before. Credit the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, the Tower of Power, too sweet to be sour, if you will.
Yes, I definitely will. And speaking of Dusty, I read that you guys became very close and were really, really close and traveled the roads together. Tell us some stuff about Dusty that we may not have known.
Yeah, it's just, 2.5 years. Somebody was asking me the other day, and I said, yeah, we virtually when we created the Superpowers, we virtually sold out at pretty much every arena, high school, gym, wherever we went, or close to it for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
As the Superpowers. In fact, I literally just had a conversation this afternoon, someone who was good friends with Hawk, and Hawk told him, I didn't know this. He said Hawk always said, man, the Nikita and Dusty get a bigger pop than the Road Warriors, man, which is a heck of a compliment, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming from the Legion of Doom, and so yeah, just fun times. Thinking back on it, I didn't make his job easy because, and for some who know, I'll tell this part. Some may not know. I had a wife that got diagnosed with cancer at age 24. She battled it for 2 years. I stepped away at one point from the business to just solely take care of her. But before I did that, I was wrestling basically main event against Flair for the heavyweight title, and if the matches started at 8:00, I'd show up about 9:30 in time to get dressed and get in the ring with Rick, and then jet back home. And the other guys would get mad, and get on Dusty. Why are you letting him do that?
Yeah.
And he was gracious to let me, understanding the situation. I wasn't just trying to be a prima donna. I really wasn't. I was just taking care of my wife who was dying, right?
Yeah.
And so he did say to me one day, he goes, baby, you make my job hard, baby. You make my job hard. And I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, Dust, but you know the deal. And I'll tell you one story. I have one regret when I think about Dusty Rhodes. You ready?
Yes.
Ready for the one regret?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, at one point we had private planes and we jet around on private planes in addition to his convertible red Mercedes. And he always liked to drive, by the way. I don't think he trusted me behind the wheel. Every now and then he let me drive, but I think he was more comfortable being behind the wheel, which I was okay. Hey, I'm being hit the booker's driving me to the town, right? It doesn't get any better than that, right?
Right, yeah.
My one regret, man, we used to sit on that private jet and pick up an old USA Today and go to the Want-Ads. And we always scoured land. We looked at Montana and Idaho, Wyoming, and we were dreaming, man. The American dream and the Russian nightmare were dreaming. We're looking at this land, and to give a vivid description, wild antelope and buffalo and snow-capped mountains and creeks and rivers. And we're like, man, let's go in together. Let's buy like 1,000 acres or something, Dust. Let's just, partner up. And we talked about. We never did it. And if there's ever a living a life of a regret, I regret not having done that. Certainly with him, but just all these years later, what that probably, that might have, prospered, but that would have been fun to have that partnership with the American Dream.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just phenomenal that you guys had gotten that close. Of course, nobody that was watching at that time would have ever until you linked up, of course, as the Superpowers. And when Magnum got hurt, a big turning point came again in your career when they turned you babyface. Were you nervous about that? How did you think that was going to go over? Did you know that it would become as over as it did?
Nobody knew. In fact, somebody asked Dusty years later, did he know? And he goes, no. He goes, it was a roll of the dice, man. A Russian becoming a good guy, a real roll of the dice. And so we did not know. As far as when they approached me with it, in my mind, I thought, here's Dusty Rhodes, legendary wrestling career, Jim Crockett Promotions, Jim Crockett family, 50 plus years in wrestling promotions. The two of those guys probably had a better inclination of whether it would or wouldn't than I certainly did, only be in the business. At that point, I'm still only in the business about, I don't know, two and a half years, something like that. So I just leaned on their experience and trusted their judgment that it would, and of course the rest is history, right?
Absolutely, and a big history. It really. I just remember watching that and that place coming unglued when you stepped in there behind Dusty and kind of gave him that look. Hey, what's Nikita going to do? and then when you started, and then it became obvious, the place just it of course it rivaled and surpassed that Road Warrior Pop, man, because that was a huge event.
Well, I'd always heard this, and I did actually confirm this. I'd always heard that Tony Schiavone, when he was questioned one time, what's the biggest pop of any match you've ever been a part of? And he said, hands down, I can tell you right now, when the night Nikita turned in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I said, Tony, for real? He goes, oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Tony Schiavone, right? Yeah. I mean, the guy's been in mega matches, right?
Sure.
Talk about a compliment coming from one of the best announcers out there, Tony Schiavone. I just was like, wow, taken aback when he said, no, that's totally true and true to this day. So, yeah, incredibly humbled.
Flip your camera back, Jeff. I think you're taking over half the screen. I know you want to insert yourself in here, like Jeff's trying to insert himself in any way he can. Your screen flip.
Turn your camera, Jeff. Turn your camera. 90 degrees. So.
Yeah,
there you go.
There we go. Jeff.
Now we lost him. Where'd he go?
He disappeared.
Hey, because obviously we want to talk about the Koloff family tour as well. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely going to get to that. Nikita, but before we leave your history, we can't not leave the past without talking about Ivan and what impact Ivan had on your career. And I'd mentioned earlier before you came on about the Hall of Fame, and of course Ivan was inducted last year, 2025, and put into that Legends or whatever they're calling it wing. How do you feel about that? Did you? I feel like he probably should have gone into as the main Hall of Fame just because of what he did. Dethroning Sammartino and all of that stuff. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, legendary career, right? Obviously, you see Neal sporting the Ivan Koloff T-shirt right there. Flash that shirt there, Neal. We're on a legendary family Koloff tour this year, Neal and Vladimir and I, to honor Ivan. And when I think about Ivan's career, and you mentioned Bruno Sammartino, that certainly was legendary. Madison Square Garden. We had some incredible matches against the Rock and Roll Express and the Road Warriors and many, many other tag teams. And people had asked me over the years, man, you should be in the Hall. Ivan should be in the Hall. And I'm like, well, I go, truthfully, Ivan should be in it way more than me because of his long, extended, successful career. My shorter, successful career, but he should be in it as well, or even more than me. So I was thrilled to hear that they were finally going to put him in, even if it's not the main one or whatever. But I say that to say this too. If I never got in it, please, don't misunderstand me. I'm not going to lose sleep over that. I am honored to be in the NWA Hall of Fame. I'm even more honored to be in Dan Gable's Hall of Fame and Museum up in Waterloo, Iowa. I don't know how many your audience knows of the Dan Gable Hall of Fame, but any avid wrestling fan, put it on your calendar. Go, like every July they have an induction. They have a 3-4 day event. It's phenomenal. You'll spend 3 or 4 days just walking around the museum there. It's brick and mortar. It's incredible. Dan Gable, gold medalist from the Munich Olympics in '72, is usually there. It's incredible. So I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that he's in. If I never make it, won't lose any sleep over it.
Yeah, and I understand that. It's just the relationship you guys had when he passed. Some of your thoughts, and I don't mean to take it to a sad place, but just some of your thoughts when we lost Ivan.
No, well, it was somewhat anticipated. I saw his health declining over the years as I was doing things with him. Him and I actually did a number of ministry events together, tag team for Jesus, if you will, and so it was fun to do that. We did outreaches, we did assemblies and church services and whatnot. I actually had invited him in 1995 to a revival that was happening, that he agreed to come, and he was a man of his word, and that night was life changing for him. He that night he came to the altar and surrendered his life to Christ, and set free of tobacco addiction and drinking and drugs. And I mean, it was life. When I say it was life changing, it was life changing. And so, the latter part of his life, I could see his health declining. I gave him my word, that I would speak at they had a graveside service for him, invitation only. I was honored to speak at his graveside service, and even more thrilled that I'll see him again one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Great thoughts on your mentor there, Ivan Koloff, and sorely missed. I met him a couple of times. I did a couple of shows in Columbia, South Carolina, many decades ago, and met him down there. And the first time I was fresh into the business when I met him, so I'm still not smart enough to everything, right? And the first time I met him, I walked in the room, and that gentle voice you would have never expected coming out of Ivan Koloff, I was literally taken aback when I first met him. He's such a nice guy, such a sweet soul, and sorely missed. And
yep, absolutely, 100%. Yep.
So when you got out, we're going to move forward a little bit. We're going to bring Neal into the conversation some as well, because I'm really interested into how you guys linked up, because I've known Neal a long time, many years. When he first broke in, I was around, and so it's interesting to me how you guys linked up. But when you got out of wrestling, Nikita, before we get to that really quickly, your life really did make a major turn. And what do you think was the defining moment that led your spiritual transformation and leading you to where you are now?
Where I am now, yeah. So the Reader's Digest version of that is, in fact, I write about it in one of my books. You'll see behind me on the shelf there over my shoulder, you'll see the life story, Nikita, A Tale of the Ring of Redemption. And then Wrestling with Success, Developing a Championship Mentality. I read about it in one of those books, how I leave wrestling. I'm pondering, Ricky, like, what's the future hold for me? What's next for Nikita Koloff? I had a health club, a fitness center. I knew I didn't want to do that the rest of my life. And so I was searching. I was involved in some other business ventures, and I met this Christian couple. And I say this, just like by now, hopefully your audience knows, not really from Russia, or I just learned some really good English.
Yeah.
Not really from Russia. You have to buy the book to get the whole story. Anyway, tongue in cheek right there. Yes, but, I was successful, Ricky, but I knew deep down inside something was missing, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't grow up in Russia, but I also didn't grow up in church. But that's not to say I had never heard the plan of salvation, because I had more than once. What we just celebrated, Easter, right? The resurrection of Jesus, the crucifixion and the resurrection of Jesus. I knew that story. I had heard that story. I had attended church a few Easters over the years, but the story never made the 18-inch trip from my head down to my heart. And 17 October 1993, this Christian couple I'd met invited me to their church. I accepted the invitation, and I had an aha moment in that service, that what was missing was that personal relationship with Jesus. And I was the first one to the altar, first one on my knees, asking for God for forgiveness and repenting of my sin and inviting Jesus in. And I want to tell you, I encountered him that day. It was life-changing. I went from being unfulfilled to an immediate sense of fulfillment, that if nothing else mattered, if nothing else I did, I could pass away a fulfilled man. And I learned that day that my life had a greater purpose than just entertaining people in a ring. I don't get me wrong, I was thrilled to do that and earn all the accolades I did, but I realized then and there that my life had a greater purpose. And never in a gazillion years, fast forward all these years later from that decision, 17 October 1993, would I have envisioned several books and a podcast and a radio show and a camp. I mean, this Sunday,
Chef's killing.
Ricky, this Sunday, about 30 men from 6 different states will fly in and drive in to a little town called Royston, Georgia, to a camp. You see the shirt here, Man Camp Alumni. Camp Alumni. Lex Luger and I facilitate every spring, every April, and every October this camp for men. And we bring these men in and we empower them. We give them tools for their toolbox. We equip them to send them back home. For your ladies in the audience out there and your men, to send them back home just better equipped to be a godly man, a godly husband, a godly father, a godly grandfather. And so what I get to do, I'm absolutely beside myself to think about. 36 different countries I've been to. 36 different countries. Who gets to do that?
And that's all with your ministry.
Mainly. Now, some of that would include, wrestling in Japan, and over in Guam and Kuwait in the Middle East. So that's just a total of, but the majority of those countries is all related to Koloff for Christ Ministries. Yeah.
Just phenomenal. And did you ever, Nikita, Jeff, I don't know, sorry, Neal, I don't know what happens. I keep dropping you, but we got you back, and we're going to bring Neal into the conversation here. Did you ever think, Nikita, though, that once you stepped out of wrestling, did you have that plan stepping out to where you went with it, or did that kind of just come on a different kind of way? Or
no, I'm telling you, I'm in this season of what life holds next for Nikita Koloff.
Yeah,
and never in a million years. Look, the idea, if somebody had said to me 40 years ago, I'm wrestling Magnum for the U.S. title, hey, Nikita, one day you're going to be an evangelist and you're going to travel around the world and you're going to tell people about Jesus. And I would have said, you're nuts. And seriously, not as the new expression is, not on my bingo card.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of nuts, let's bring in Neal Koloff to the conversation. A friend of mine, known him for years, and I hope I can get away with saying that. But welcome, Neal. And it's, again, just really interesting to me because I haven't heard – Neal and I, we hadn't talked in some years because I stepped away from this and got into something else. Anyway, long and short of it was we've recently been catching up, and I still haven't been able to ask him how he became a Koloff. So you guys relay that to me and how he became a member of the family and what's going on with the Koloffs as we move forward.
Neal, I've talked enough. You share the story.
Now we don't have your sound.
There you are.
Try it again, Neal. Now his sound's not working. This kid's popped out on the. Yeah, he can't hear you, brother. He's popped out about 10 times. I got him back in, and now we don't hear him. He's going to try it again. All right, stand by.
Well, in the meantime, yeah. I'll fill it in for your audience while he's trying to get the technology right.
It's great.
Works,
it's great.
Right?
You gotta love it.
You gotta love it. I'll hopefully we get him on. I would rather him tell you the story. Let me say this while we bring him on, how he became a Koloff. The Koloff Family tour, we were just in Long Island, New York. We're going to be up in New England and New Jersey and St. Louis and heading out to Vegas. And the idea was Vladimir, who wrestled with Ivan for about 7 years and was in, I think, about 6 different countries wrestling with Ivan. And Vladimir did a stint at ECW and some appearances in other organizations. And so he had a pretty extended career with Ivan, and some people don't know that, but so we made him a part of it, of course. And then Neal, are you back? You got audio?
Yeah, let me get him.
I think so. Can you guys hear me?
Boom, we can.
Yeah, let me get you back.
So Vladimir's a part of it. Neal, take it away. How did you become a Koloff, Neal?
So I have known Nikita for literally, many years, and wrestling along the lines of going to NWA Charlotte, and then even Ricky Nelson, going throughout the Carolinas into Georgia, Tennessee, even Mississippi for some reason. And so we did a lot of shows, but Nikita and I would always catch up, and we would always talk. We would always, just like some of the boys, And then one day, if you know Nikita, he dabbles not just with the ministry. That's his main thing, but he also dabbles in a lot of extracurricular things, like the Verve, Vima, energy drinks. And then he was, going into Bitcoin. And I remember I was talking to him, and I was on the phone with him, and on the screen was Donald Trump talking about Russia collusion, Russia collusion, Russia collusion.
Yeah.
And he was on the phone with me, and I literally was like, man, that'd be a good gimmick. And then I just looked as he's talking, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. And I started to think about it, and I was like, Nikita, I was like, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I know it's rude, and I apologize. I was like, but I have an idea. It involves you, it involves me, and I gotta go. I need to get my thoughts, and I'll call you tomorrow. And then he's like, okay, a little weird, but okay, no problem. And I called him back the next day, and I pitched the idea of continuing the legacy. And he was intrigued by it. And he was like, but I mean, you got to earn it. You can't, I'm not just going to give this to you. Like you have to earn it. And then throughout the time, like a lot of litmus tests, a lot of, paying my dues, so to speak. And when it came that time, it was myself and Alexander at one point, which he had to stop wrestling due to injuries. But when he and I were being anointed the name Koloff, even though Alexander and I, we knew it was coming, this was something we had talked about. If you watch the video of him anointing us as the Koloffs, when he handed me that singlet, like I legit like was shedding a tear
Yeah.
because it meant that much to me. It was something that was very special to me. And especially with the man himself, the Russian Nightmare, man that I grew up and idolized and watched throughout my whole childhood and career. It was just it meant the world to me when he did that, and it still means the world to me to this day. He's there for me more than some family members. He's been there with me through some good times, through some bad times. Just been a very good role model to me, not just personally, but also in spirituality. And he's just he's an amazing man. I can't say enough good things about him. But that is the start of how Neal Koloff was born.
Well, let me chime in there. So people understand, my process, in making that decision. And Jeff, I'm throwing.
You could say it.
I'm throwing
you
your
this
first
area.
name out
That's
there
fine.
too.
Yeah, I do it.
He was Jeff, but now he's Neal. So he was Jeff.
Right.
He wrestled as Jeff Lewis Neal.
Jeff Lewis.
And for a 25-year career.
Yep.
So I've seen him wrestle many, many, many times. I've seen his work ethic and his ability to wrestle. And so I admired that, appreciated that. Got to know him, as he said, on a personal level, walking him through some difficult times in his life on a personal level. So we had that respect. And then when he approached me with the idea, I didn't jump on it immediately. I pondered it, prayed about it, considered it, because that's a big deal to me.
Yeah, it is a big deal.
To christen somebody as a Koloff. And so I actually put him and Alexander. We did some video vignettes. I don't know where they're at, Neal. They're out there somewhere, but
they're still on there. They're still all out there.
Okay, so because I took him in the gym and we did some video vignettes of them putting him through some grueling workouts in the gym, put him in the ring surprised him against a couple guys that and watched him work in the ring together as well as a tag team. Actually took him down to Billy Corgan's NWA, and did a little exhibition match down there as a tag team. But I just felt, both Neal and Alexander, were, because of their success in wrestling on the indie circuit, and look, Neal has always loved Ivan and as he said, admired our career. And the Koloff family. So I just felt it was just right to christen him a Koloff and make him part of this Koloff family tour as we go across the country this year.
And I like to jump onto that also. So during the workout videos, I'm wearing a sleeveless hoodie. It's like it's just like a regular T-shirt would be. And my wife, she was watching the videos, and she was like, "I didn't know you had a dark gray shirt." And then that's when I was like, "No, that was light gray because the grueling workouts that he was putting us through, my entire shirt was soaking wet." And I know that Alexander's was because he like took his off after and just started wringing it out full of sweat. You know, you see the guys over the buckets, they're just wringing it out. It was this exact same way. So it's like, even with that work ethic, and the one thing he was telling us, he's like, there's going to be some days you just don't feel like coming in. But up here, you got to push through it. And that's something that's always stuck with me about that.
It's just it's really a great story and how you guys came together. Where do you see it going, Nikita and Neal? Where do you see it going? The Koloff family name, and I know you guys are on tour with the family reunion. Where do you see it going beyond this point, and what what can we expect as a fan?
Neal, you jump on it, and then I'll follow up.
Yeah, so we're taking this all over. Like next week, we're going to be in Las Vegas for WrestleCon, WrestleMania week. I have a match out there in Las Vegas, a tag team match, teaming up with the unfiltered Sean Cruz. And Vladimir is going to be in our corner. Wink, wink to Nikita if he wants to come in too. But once we're out there, then we go to Massachusetts for New England Fan Fest, and then also after that, we're going to Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling's Fan Fest right there for St. Louis, for the St. Louis Hall of Fame. And that's for Herb Simmons out there, legendary promoter, which I'm going to be wrestling out there at that one. And we're taking this like everywhere, to the Gathering, to WrestleCade. We're going all over. And to answer your question, take it, wherever. Like, I mean, you can hear my son in the background excited, like that's another Koloff that's going to be coming up.
Yeah.
He's watched Dad wrestle, he's watched Uncle Ivan, Uncle Nikita wrestle, and he's all about it. He's just like, Dad, when I get older, you're going to be my tag partner. And that's when I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go, brother.
Another Ricky Morton, huh? Another Ricky Morton, huh?
No, well, yeah, Bubba. Yeah, Bubba. That's let's do it, Bubba.
Let me chime in on that. So, because and Ricky, just so your audience knows, why are we doing this? Well, we just want to honor the name of Ivan Koloff is what we want to do. And as we talked earlier, his legendary career, we just want to honor the man. And some people don't if you do some historical work for the avid wrestling fan, we actually, in my life story, Ring of Redemption, William Murdoch, who did it with me, is a wrestling historian, and we share the history of wrestling back into the 1800s. Well, some people may not know, but there was a Dan Koloff that in the 1930s and 40s who had a pretty legendary career of his own. And so the Koloff name goes back quite a ways in professional wrestling, and we just want to carry it forward and just honor the man. And so there's a lot of markets we hope to be coming to. As our promoter Leon Hollingsworth out in New York is bringing us around on this tour, and we put together a great 8x10, and I said it again. Neal's got some T-shirts. So, we got a variety of Koloff T-shirts that we put together, and it's just going to be fun. We got a couple of those surprises we're working on for the fans. We're looking at. I'll just tell you. I'll just throw this out there. We're potentially folks be looking for this. We're potentially going to have a breakfast with the Koloffs. A small group, like a small intimate group that they can sit down, break bread with us. We're going to have a little Q&A as part of the breakfast. They'll get like a autographed 8x10. They'll get a couple other surprises along the way as well as part of that package. But keep your eyes open for that as we come to your town.
Right. Don't have chicken on the menu. That'll hurt Uncle Vlad's feelings on that one. So.
A lot of exciting things happening in the world of Koloff, and that's great, man. It's awesome that you guys are keeping the legacy and the name alive, and and as a fan, I look forward to it. Anything Koloff is always interesting, and I think that that what you guys are doing is just fantastic. Nikita, let me ask you this, and we're gonna wrap it up because I know you guys have got other things to do. You got one more match in you? When you getting back in the ring?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And I've been after him, and you can do it. I know you can.
I know he can. Everybody knows he
I've
can.
always said.
Hey,
Now, I've always said. I have
Ricky,
always said if I did a bucket list match of mine, it doesn't matter who the opponents are. I don't care who it is. That man needs to be my partner on that. That is a bucket list match, and he keeps saying,
So Ricky, couple thoughts on that, right?
Yes,
So let me take you back a few years ago when Totally Nonstop Action was just getting started in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay. And I was actually living in the Nashville area at the time and agreed to appear on the show a few times to help Jarrett, right? I want to help him get this thing off the ground. We needed more competition, right, in wrestling. And he tried, man. He tried to talk me into getting. He goes, "We'll put you in a 6-man. You can stand on the apron." I'm going, dude, really? Like, you think the Russian Nightmare is just gonna stand on an apron? Like, who you think I was born yesterday? You know full well the minute I get on that apron, I'm going to get in the ring and get into the action. I go, not happening. Ricky, I think people can fact check me on this. I'm pretty sure I'm the only guy that retired and didn't have 7 retirement matches. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I'm the only guy that retired. Look, they have deemed me for the football fans out there, the Barry Sanders of pro wrestling. Okay.
Yes, sir.
The
Well,
Barry Sanders of pro wrestling. And I always admired Sanders walking away in his prime on top. I mean, he could have set 10, 20 more NFL rushing records, right? But he didn't. He walked away. And I'm satisfied with my career. Happy to assist Neal along the way. Happy to be on the Koloff Family reunion tour. You know, the Magnum TA, and just everything I'm doing, man. And if people want to learn more, Ricky, about the camp that Lex Luger and I are doing, if they are interested in an autographed copy of that book, or they want to get an audible version, they just go to Amazon. They can get in my own voice. I did my life story in my own voice. They can click over and get to the podcast. It's Time to Man Up. All of that is a one-stop shop. Just go to Koloff.net. Last name Koloff.net, and they can link and click and just have fun there on that website. I appreciate you having us on today.
Oh, it's been a thrill. It has been an absolute thrill having you guys on, and just talking to you, Nikita, and catching up has been a blessing. Go ahead, Neal. I think we lost.
I just got a question. Maybe you can join in with this. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Just have a request, Ricky, that maybe you can help me with, and it's a little. It's three words, okay, and they're always in sync, okay, and it's a message to my mentor Nikita Koloff. One more match. 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 One more match.
I tell you, Boogie. I mentioned it in the opening. Boogie's doing one at 83. So never say never, Nikita. Never say never, brother.
Listen, I have learned not to use the word never, and so I intentionally don't say never for that reason. But you know, God is in the business of miracles. You never know. Who knows? We'll see.
Well, Nikita, you look great. You sound great. It's good to see you. It's great to talk to you. Before I get you out of here, give us I know you did your Koloff website. What else is coming up that you want to get out there and make sure everybody's aware of?
Yeah, so I mean for sure dial into the podcast and the radio show, and you know, we are. I'm all about, you know, I diversify. I'm a big believer in diversifying, and by that meaning ministry, as Jeff mentioned, is first and foremost. I more recently launched a project called the Provision Project, and what it entails is, my motto is, is to strengthen the body, okay, fund the vision and mission, and build a legacy. Strengthen the body, fund the vision and mission. Okay, I feel like everybody's got some sort of vision out there for their life or a mission that they're called to, and sometimes they just don't have the provision in order to fund it. And so I launched this project. People can learn more, contact me. This is easy too, koloff.info. So koloff.info, INFO, to learn more about the Provision Project if they want to build a legacy, if they want to fund their vision and mission, or if they just want to strengthen the body and get healthy. That's the newest project I'm working on. Thank you for asking.
Fantastic. And a lot of people, I tell you, Nikita, just watching your career and watching your post-wrestling career, a lot of people talk the talk, brother, but you walk that walk, and God bless what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. And like I said at the beginning of this thing, it's just a blessing that you're still around and still out there with a strong voice. And we need you, man. And thank you for what you're doing. And thank you so much. I cannot, from the bottom of my heart, thank you enough for coming and doing this today. It really is a big deal to me. And God bless you, sir. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Neal, and we'll do to all your audience out there. We look forward to seeing you somewhere, sometime, somewhere. Come out and see us.
Well, that's right. Thank you so much, Ricky.
Absolutely, do it, Neal. Thank you so much too, brother. And Neal and I talked before I get him out of here. We're going to have Neal back on in the future because there's some things that he wants to clear the air about. So that'll be coming up. We're not going to get into it today because that's another 3 hours. But we're going to clear the air about some things with Neal in the future.
Absolutely.
That'll be in an upcoming show. But Neal, brother, thank you so much. And I, before any telephone rumors get started out there, I did not contact Jeff to get or Neal to get Nikita, and he'll tell you this. We were talking. Mm-hmm. And I was going to invite Neal onto the show because I wanted to. We hadn't talked in a long time. And one fun thing about doing this new program is that I've been able to catch up with some friends that I haven't spoken to in a lot of years. And I think you and I probably had
right
in better than probably 10 years. I mean, it's been a long time.
It has been a long time.
Yeah, we would message on and off and stuff like that, but had to have a conversation and catching up with Randy Wayne and Bill Hazelwood and even Thomas Simpson. It's just been really fun to catch up and talk to people that I haven't talked to in a lot of years. But I said that to say this. I contacted Neal because I just wanted you to come on and just catch up. And he actually offered to get Nikita, which man, I owe you a big one on that. I really do. I appreciate that. Wasn't expecting it.
No problem.
Wasn't expecting it, but thank God he was able to do it, and that, again, that he's still around and doing it. And God bless you, Neal Koloff, for carrying on the legacy, man.
Thank you.
That is a big deal. And what he said about the anointing and the giving that is a big deal, man. And I remember when I talked to Animal when they brought in Heidenreich to be a road warrior. And I remember when Joe was literally like brokenhearted about the way that thing ended. And he even said, and I think in his interview, and it's up there on the YouTube channel, that guy was given a gift and he squandered it. And knowing you and knowing your work ethic, I really don't think you'll squander the Koloff name. So I think the right choice was made in that aspect.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And thank you. I really appreciate that. And the fun story of the night I became Neal Koloff was in Dallas, Texas at, I want to say it was the University of Northern Texas Stadium. Now they had the football game, and then the promoter, who was Jerry Bostic out in Texas, he pretty much had a super show after. So if you bought tickets to the football game, at the end of the game, they go and they set the ring up like around 50-yard line, and like right over towards the sidelines. So where if you're there, like you can stay and watch the matches. And we still had, like, I want to say it was about a good 1,500 people that still stayed to watch the wrestling. And they allowed like a lot of the students to get around on the field to where they could watch it. And the night I became Neal Koloff, I did a run-in. As weird as it sounds, I did a run-in to help Nikita as he was trying to recruit a massive Jax Dane, rest in peace. And the fact that we both jumped Jax Dane, beat him up, was a true thrill for me. But an even bigger thrill were three things about that. One was that one. The second was actually on the way to the stadium. Jax Dane is driving. I'm in the back seat. Nikita's in the back seat, but sitting in the front seat was Road Warrior Animal.
Wow.
And while we're sitting there talking, I'm watching Nikita and Animal just both stories back and forth about, Japan, the Crockett's, Vince, and everything. And here I am, like, kid in the candy store, like, I'm not saying a word.
Yeah.
How the jabroni in the bag is like, you sit there, you keep your mouth shut, you don't say anything.
Right.
And that's how I was. But I'm just literally like listening to the stories, and I'm just like, this is amazing. And while Nikita and I are beating down Jax Dane, they hit, oh, what a rush. And here comes Animal for the save, which
Wow.
was a true thrill for me in that sense,
Yeah.
because I'm like, how else can you make a debut like that?
Yeah.
And this was before Alexander came in. So that was a true treat for me to do that. But it does mean a lot, you saying that about he picked the right person. And, I just hope that I can at least live up to the expectations of Nikita and even Vladimir and Ivan. I'm real close with Renee, his widow,
Yeah.
Melody, his granddaughter, and even Darrell, who's over in England, Ivan's daughter as well. So it's really an honor to be able to carry on the legacy.
Wow.
And I just thank you seriously for having me on for this, and
Oh no,
to
man.
be able to
it's
share that story.
It's been a blast, and I really appreciate it. And I will just tell you, there's some folks in the comments. Laces popped up a few times, but Cruiser Lewis, who was a former family member of yours, popped in, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
his comment was, "Thank goodness he is no longer a Lewis," and laughs out loud. So,
Uncle Wayne.
You've been
Uncle
excommunicated
Wayne.
from the Lewis family, apparently.
Uncle Wayne, don't make me get you in the ring and put the chains around your neck. Don't make me do that.
Good stuff. Well, look, man, I look forward to having you on again. It really, and I meant what I said.
Yes.
It has been a lot of fun catching up with you, and we've talked several times on the phone over the last couple of week or so, and I really appreciate you, for doing this again. Appreciate you having. And before I let you go, you give some plugs. How can people get a hold of Neal Koloff, and what you got?
It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. Like I said, we're going to be out in Las Vegas next week, WrestleCon, WrestleMania, and then in 2 weeks after that, going to New England Fan Fest, and then the Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling Fan Fest. And I'm going to be wrestling at the Bruiser Brody Memorial Show on that one. So that's a true honor there. But you can find me Facebook.com/Neal Koloff, Instagram @Neal Koloff, and on TikTok at Neal Koloff, and then an asterisk that says JLN. So yeah, you can catch me on all there. And a little teaser. I'll just say, for the next time we come on, it happened years ago, and the Stooges will be unleashed.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. We're going to talk about some things that maybe not so pleasant, but we're going to clear the air, and I look forward to having you back on. Give it up for Jeff.
It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt some feelings for sure. And to be honest with you,
that sums it up. That sums it up. All right.
There you go.
Thanks again, brother, and I'll be in touch with you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. All right. That was awesome. How cool was it to have the Koloff family on today? It was a thrill for me. It was great, man. I really I can't thank those guys enough for coming on. And Nikita Koloff, what a class act, man. What a class act. Going to take a quick break. We've been going almost an hour and a half here. Going to take a short break. We're going to come back, and we'll close out the show. Coming up next, right here on Regalwood Rasslin.
Hernandez, what's Hernandez doing? What's Hernandez doing?
All right, back here on Regalwood Rasslin. Again, big thanks to those guys for coming on today. I will be perfectly frank with you. I am not a professional broadcaster, okay? I'm just a guy who likes to sit around and talk about wrestling, right? That's what I like to do. It comes and it goes, of course. My love-hate with this thing, but I still enjoy it for the most part. And but things like today, and speaking to an absolute 100% legend, was a thrill for me, and I just appreciate both of those guys for coming on and being a part of it. And I feel like it went, pretty good. Again, considering I'm not a professional broadcaster, I'm not a fine interviewer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not Larry King over here, but I think we got through it well, and I think I hope everybody enjoyed it. Some good commentary going on in the chat room. Wanda saying that Jeff or Neal got thrown out of the Lewis family, and he can adopt Lace, and they're going there. Cruiser can now be a little. So there, yeah. Participate in that chat room. I appreciate any. I appreciate people getting involved, and I appreciate everybody watching and hanging out with me. I know we went along today, but I do appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody who's joined me. I think that's enough for today. I'm not gonna do a reality today. We'll probably bring that back maybe next week. I do not have anybody lined up for next week's show yet. Next week will be either Wednesday or Thursday. We'll come on and do a show Wednesday or Thursday. Of course, follow the Facebook pages for updates on when our next show will be. If you're not on the Inside Wrestling Radio page on Facebook, if you go to Ricky Regal, RIKKIREGAL on Facebook, if you haven't already, go over there and add me or follow me. And then, of course, the links to the Inside Wrestling Radio page, which facilitates this show, Regalwood Rasslin. And follow that, give it a like, and you get all the updates. So remember, we are on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble, and Kick. If you're on any of those platforms and you want to go over there and follow on any of those platforms, that's fine. YouTube is the place where most things happen. That's where all the stuff sits. Even some of the gaming stuff, which was on hiatus from right now since we're trying to build this up. But YouTube is Wrestle Radio 860, WRESTLERADIO 860 on YouTube, where all things Regal kind of happens. Twitch, Regalwood 6969, of course, Ricky Regal on Facebook. Rumble and Kick are Regalwood respectively. Look for this guy right here. You see him right there. You look for him, you find him, you're in the right, by God, place. All right, we're going to wrap it up with the most ridiculous item of the day. I always like to do these because it's just funny. And I enjoy funny things. Not sure what organization this comes from, but it kind of speaks for itself. As do all the most ridiculous items of the day, kind of speak for themselves. This one is ridiculous. So let's go to the videotape, shall we? Check this out.
Hernandez, what's Hernandez doing? Told him to hold. No. What the hell is Supreme have in mind here? You got to be kidding me. Supreme forcing referee to hold the ladder. What the hell is he wants to do a mega toe splash? No way.
Watch it again. Slow motion. We're getting in slow motion. Off the top of the ladder onto the apron and to the floor. What better thing is there to watch than a big goof wipe out right there
Hernandez,
in front of God and everybody. All right, that's gonna do it for this episode 4 in the books. Thank you all for coming and joining me. Thanks again to my guests, Nikita and Neal Koloff. Big things coming from those guys, and we will have and we'll have Neal on again in the future to discuss some controversial subjects that most likely will ruffle some feathers, but hey, that's what we're here for, right? Right now I don't have anybody booked for next week, so we'll play it by ear. We'll see what happens. But yeah, next week will be Wednesday or Thursday, and until then, friends, I'm Regal, and I will see you down the road.